Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Michelle Moreus and I make art tutorials that are fun, easy, and accessible for everyone. Before we get into the video, please subscribe to my channel and leave a comment below. I subscribed, and I'll be sure to get back to each and every one of you. Today we're doing this BLUEJAY in colored pencil with a Pan Pastel bokeh background. So I'm going in with my Pan Pastels, and I'm just basically just smudging in some colors here and there. Because the background's going to be blurry, I just really want to get a good light coat of pastel down around my bird. So it doesn't really matter at this stage. You don't have to be real precise with it. It can be kind of messy because you're going to blend all that out and blend it all together. So I'm adding in some yellows and a little bit of brown. And I'm just not taking my reference image literal in the background, but we're just kind of getting a good coat down, and it'll give us something to blend together. So the Pan Pastels are really creamy and blend really beautifully, and I'm using fontaine Pastelmat paper, which has a sanded finish, so it takes to that pastel beautiful. So it's all about layering. You want to have that good first coat down, and then everything else just really blends together nicely. And like I said, we're doing a blurry background, so it's not really that crucial. I just kind of want to get my lights and darks where I want them to indicate trees in the background and maybe some light coming through. Now I have transferred my image by drawing out my bird, and then I put some soft pastel on the back of the paper, and then I went over it with a pencil, and it left a little bit of a green outline, which because I put down green pastel on the back of the paper. And now I'm just going in with my black or actually my dark blue pencil, and just kind of reinforcing those lines so I don't get lost in the drawing. And now I'm just going to go in, and I'm just going to try to give everything a little bit of a light coat to indicate where all my colors are going to be. And this is our roadmap for the rest of the drawing. So you kind of want to have that mapped out so that you know where everything is going, and then we're going to blend everything together in between. This is my first time using colored pencil on Pastelmat, and I really enjoyed it. It takes a lot of layers because it has a heavy tooth to the paper, but it also lends itself really well to that background to be able to mix media and put that pastel down as our background and then our color pencil in for all our details on our bird. And I'm not using Pan Pastels anywhere else on the drawing. The whole bird is going to be in polychromos colored pencils. So before I even start my drawing, I always swatch out my colored pencils on a sheet of paper, and I put the numbers next to them. And this helps me as I'm going along the drawing to see what colors that I need to put in. In this case, the head of the bird has a lot of kind of purpley blues in it, and then the feathers that come out from under it are more lighter blues and darker blues. So we're just going to go in, and because I swatch out all my colors ahead of time, I kind of know what I'm going to use and where I'm putting those in. And this saves you from going back into your set over and over again trying to find the perfect color, because I've already done my homework. So this is really helpful, and I really believe that success in a drawing is having a little bit of a plan in the beginning. Not only planning what materials you're going to use, but also the colors. And like I've said 100 times before in my other videos, it's not so much the color. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's more the value, that you get your values correct. If your values are correct, you're going to have a realistic drawing. So I've pre-sharpened all my pencils, so I'm dealing with some nice sharp pencils. The Pastelmat paper works a lot differently than a smooth finish paper. Because of the sanded finish, it does wear down your pencils a little bit, but you don't have to put as many layers because it's so heavily toothed that it takes so much pencil very quickly. So you want to make sure that you are using light pressure still, and having sharp pencils will help you with your pressure control. And if you're finding that you're putting too much down all at once, hold your pencil back a little further on the barrel, and this way you won't be really pushing it into the paper as much, because we want to put a lot of layers. Color pencil works best when done in a ton of layers, and you want to mix those colors. So it gives it a lot more depth when you're mixing several tones of blue together, rather than just trying to pick the perfect color and putting it down once. If you've watched my other videos, you know I like to use solvent with color pencil, and the Pastelmat paper works really well with solvent because it's a thicker paper. But in this drawing, I'm not going to use any solvent. We're just going to put down our layers, and then we're going to kind of burnish toward the end. Now, you don't really even need to burnish so much because this paper is so wonderful in taking so many layers. So really, as you build up, it kind of blends together because of the tooth of the paper. So you'll see I'm going in several times in that top part where it almost looks like he's got like a cap on the top of his body, because it's almost like two separate birds put together, the way that that soft furry head comes over all of those feathers. So I'm going to keep going in. I'm going to add some purples and some grays in there to define where his neck turns and his body follows suit. You can take it like one feather at a time, and this might prevent you from getting lost in the drawing. There's a lot of gradient transitions in those feathers, so if you take it one at a time, it might be easier for the beginners. I am taking it section by section, as you can see, because I still have the gray of the paper showing through in some of my sections. But overall, once you start getting everything mapped in, you can just keep, when you have that pencil in your hand of a certain color and you know you want to put that somewhere else, feel free to go over and add that in. And we're going to do many layers on here. And you want to keep your pencil strokes going in the direction of the feathers, because we want to keep continually having that bird look as realistic as possible. So you want to keep those strokes going in the direction of those feathers, and this will help with your realism. A bluebird is usually perceived as a symbol of joy and happiness that you're expecting in the future. If this bird appears in your life, it will remind you of all the beauty of the nature that surrounds you. And if you see bluebirds, they're always a symbol of something good that's about to come in your life. So it's kind of a happy drawing, and let's hope that 2021 is a lot better than 2020. The only good that came out of this pandemic is that I did start drawing again, and I started my YouTube channel. So I'm really happy that I got back into it. Not happy about the circumstances that led me to this. I wish I had done it sooner and not had a pandemic to accredit to my channel. But I'm really thrilled to be doing this, and please give me a thumbs up if you like this video and like my content. So I'm attacking all of these feathers by doing all my blues first. I want to get a little bit of that gradient down before I put in those dark stripes. The reason for this is if you put in all of those stripes now and have to go around them, it can muddy up your colors, because the color pencil will blend together, and then those dark blues or blacks that you're putting in, they can kind of mush together with the other colors and muddy everything up. So we want to keep everything kind of nice and bright and cherry And so I'm waiting kind of till the ending stages to put those dark navies and a little bit of black in those stripes. So there is some true black in the head, but I am going to mix it with some dark navy and maybe a little bit of purple. And like I said, you don't have to take all these colors literal. You just want to kind of represent the values of what you see. And in this case, I'm not going to go as gray on the head as in the reference image, but you just do whatever works for you. And I know that not everybody is using polychromos pencils. You can easily do this with Prismacolor or whatever color pencils that you have. And just look at the colors and represent what you think is closest, and it'll work out just fine. Like I said, it's the values, not the color. So if you're using some other set, feel free. It's going to be just fine, and just work with what you have. So I'm going to map in those stripes with a dark blue. Like I said, I'm not putting in any black there. Just kind of trying to give myself a guide as to what I'm doing here. And this way, if I map it in with blue, when I try to blend those gradients out, it will blend a lot better and it won't get muddy. So I'm kind of skipping around here, but at this stage in the drawing, you're just trying to get a good bunch done so that you can work on all your gradients. So I'm going in with a kind of a purpley gray color here, back into the head and neck. And we're just still going in the direction of all of those feathers. It's actually more crucial now at this point in the drawing to really keep those strokes going in the right direction, because now we're getting to the upper layers of the drawing, and you don't want to get stuck where you can't put down any more layers and have your sketchy lines going all kind of wonky in the wrong direction. So it's really crucial that you go in the same direction as your feathers. Now you can see to the left of me how sharp my pencils are, and I keep my pencils sharp during the whole drawing. And like I said, this really helps with the pressure and not putting down too much color all at once, because you can fill up the tooth of that paper really easily, especially on the sanded paper. So still light layers, and everything blends a lot better when you go in lightly with each color. And you can put 3 or 4 tones of blue together and have a nice gradient and have a nice definition of those feathers. And you can come up with some really cool colors by blending things together, and try experiment with different things. Like I'm going in with this kind of ochre color in the branch, and I'm going to blend it with some white and some other browns and yellow ochre, and just, you know, take a look at your reference image. Just occasionally look back at it and see what you need to do. Make sure your shadows are correct and your highlights are correct. And your colors can be totally different from your reference image, but your values are correct. So we're just going to keep going in, and we're going to keep layering. That's kind of like a weird brownish colored feather sticking out from under those beautiful blue feathers. So I'm kind of putting in this ochre color and adding a little more purple into the head. So if you notice on the reference image, those little stripes in the feathers, they kind of go in a line, but they're kind of offset a little bit. So they're not just like one line going all the way across the feathers, because each feather is separate. The feathers do kind of go in a line, but they kind of curve around a little bit, the way the feathers kind of curl a little bit left and right. So you don't want to just go straight across with those lines. Make them curve with the curve of the tail. And then we're going to go in and we're just going to try to make a nice gradient of those blues. And I'm not making my tail as kind of grayish. I'm going to do it a little bit brighter than my reference image, and feel free to kind of make it your own. So that's what I'm kind of doing in here, and then we're just going to darken things up as we go, as we're more satisfied with the way our gradients are going. So it's really important with the blacks that you mix some dark navies in with black and maybe some other colors, and then we're going to kind of maybe do a little glaze over it to soften it up a little bit. I'm always leery about using black in a drawing because it can make things look a little flat, but in this case there is some black in that bird, but it's mostly dark navies that we're going to pop in there. So we have quite a bit of color pencil down on the paper now. So in this stage, I'm going in with the lighter color, and I'm just blending all of those underneath layers together. So we're doing a little bit of burnishing. There's not really a need to fully burnish on this paper, like I said, because it has such a heavy tooth. But these final layers that we're putting down, you can increase the pressure on your pencil just a little bit, and that will kind of blend everything together and give it a little bit of a smoother finish. This image is from Pixabay, so you guys can hop on over there and actually print out the same image and draw along with me. That is a royalty-free reference photo source, and they have really nice high quality, high definition photos to work from. So you guys can print this out right from Pixabay and have all your supplies ready to go and draw along with me as I'm going, and it'll be a nice project for you. I have an iPad in front of me with the image, so I can continually look up at it for my reference resource, and also on the iPad, or you could use a phone. You can blow up certain areas, so if you get stuck and you need to see a little detail in one certain area, you can kind of blow it up, enlarge it, and get a better idea of what's going on in that specific area. If you don't have an iPad or an iPhone, or something to look at, you can print your image out, and if you print it out, I would print it out the same size as your finished drawing is going to be. This way you can use the grid method if you need to, or you can just be able to zone in on a certain area and it'll be the same size and same proportion as your drawing, and it'll make it easier. So I'm really giving everything kind of a once over now. So I'm just reinforcing all my whites. I did put a little bit of gray in to define some of those feathers in the head, and I'm just trying to give all of my shadows and my highlights some attention now, just giving the drawing a good once over and cleaning things up. So if you have any stray lines or any messy areas, now's the time to clean those up. Because of the way that we transferred our image, we don't have to worry about any pencil lines or anything showing through on the finished drawing. And we have so many layers of colored pencil down now that we're not going to see any of that anyway. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I enjoyed this project, and hopefully you did too. And please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and happy art.